I want to try to read this script slowly today, but when I read so slow, I kind of just lose all the personality in my voice. But here we go. Lately, it seems like animation is getting the short end of the stick, and well, that's completely true. HBO Max recently purged huge amounts of animation like Infinity Train, OKKO, and Uncle Grandpa, saddest of all, doing so they could make room for their own content, such as the adult version of Scooby-Doo, minus the Scooby-Doo and plus more horrible writing. Nickelodeon refuses to confirm another season of Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, despite the movie doing fantastically, and trending on Twitter for an impressive amount of time. Not to mention Disney axed the Owl House right when it was getting exciting, forcing it to wrap up within a handful of very watered-down hour-long episodes. As someone with a hope to eventually work in animation, this is discouraging for me, but my heart really does go out for those who are currently having their work treated with such disrespect. By no means is this a new trend, but on this scale, it's scary, and it's doomed to get worse. To discuss what we'll be talking about, I do need to explain a brief background that does unfortunately take us back to Fanboy and Chum Chum. If you're not familiar with the show, that is completely understandable, and I even kinda envy you for it. Fanboy and Chum Chum is a CGI animated show from 2009 that follows the wacky adventures of two comic book fans, Fanboy and Chum Chum, acting as the superheroes and protectors of their town. Created by Eric Robles, write that down, it'll be important later. The show is basically a half hour of controlled chaos, employing the use of very stylized characters and gratuitous gross-out humor to pedal the story along. Personally, I think the show has a lot of charm. The characters are great, the setting and the plot are awesome, and the supporting characters really bring the show to life. But it's written in that kind of post-season 3 SpongeBob way, if you get what I mean. Kind of that mind-numbing humor style that kids like, you know. The attitude and approach is meh, the characters and plot would much so benefit from more mature writing. That is, if you're a teen to adult watching a kid's cartoon. I do this myself even, but sometimes I think it's unfair to judge a kid's show by, like, teen and adult show standards. That's that Gravity Falls effect, you know? Like, Gravity Falls set an expectation, I think, that will permanently affect the way that a show goes from now on. The intro is a classic, though. Absolute banger. I would play it if I could. I'm not sure if I'll get copyrighted for it, so I don't want to try. Brad Breet composed it, the same guy who did the music for Gravity Falls. He's also kind of important to the video today too, I'll bring him up again later. Fanboy and Chum Chum put up a good fight, with the show lasting about 3 years. However, 4 years after Fanboy and Chum Chum ended, it was announced that its creator would be producing a new show for the network. The plot would revolve around two video game-loving teenagers, Hector Nieves and Miko Kubota, otherwise known by their gamer tags High Five and Mikeo, working jobs at the Hinobi video game store and secretly being part of a team of glitch techs, who deal with video game glitches that have manifested in real life. Ever seen the movie Pixels with Adam Sandler? It's like that, but it's written way better. The plot is way better. Nickelodeon had ordered 20 episodes worth of a first season for the show, with another 10 to eventually be created. Unfortunately, as it always happens, production was troubled, stalling for a very long time. People were fired from the project, and it didn't help that Nickelodeon itself seemed to lose faith in it by the time it had to be reconfirmed in 2019. If I had $1 for every time a show creator got a second show on Nickelodeon, but then Nick did almost nothing to hype it up or to advertise it, I could get 2 sodas from McDonald's. One for me and one for you, I guess. Conditions surrounding the show's creation got so dismal that Nickelodeon completely switched gears on it, deciding they'd rather share custody over it with Netflix, who they'd partnered up with to carry their pre-existing shows and future shows they wanted to put on there. Keep in mind, this is prior to Paramount Plus being created. Netflix users know that Netflix originals only give us the absolute bare minimum of 8 to 10 episodes in a season of something, meaning that glitch checks would need to be somewhat restructured to fit this mold. Season 1 in February of 2020 would consist of 9 episodes, with a double-length pilot, and then 10 more episodes would be released as a separate second season a few months later in August. So first I'm gonna go over the pilot, and I kind of have to discuss the pilot to discuss the rest of this video. I'm gonna talk about the first episode, but then I'm gonna discuss other episodes, so I will put a timestamp for where you can skip to that if you don't want to get spoiled. The series actually opens up with us meeting the main characters separately, as they don't know each other prior to the events of the first episode. Both characters come from fairly family-centric backgrounds, with Hector referred to predominantly as Five throughout the show, even working in his family's food truck. Five's family is very supportive of his desire to be a professional gamer, as his skills are hereditary, having been passed down to him from his currently incarcerated father. Miko, on the other hand, has a family that's a little more skeptical about her strong interest in video games, concerned that she could spend her time in a more productive way. On the day of a worldwide game tournament hosted by Hinobi, one of the biggest video game companies in universe, both Five and Miko participate, with Five going in person and Miko playing from home. At the tournament, we're also introduced to the show's pseudo-antagonist and my personal favorite character, Mitch Williams, who also happens to be Five's longtime gaming idol. A professional gamer and a glitch tech prior to the first episode, unlike Five and Miko, Mitch is a little full of himself, and basks in the glory of being the greatest tech on the team. During the competition, Five and Miko end up teaming up against Mitch, hoping they can maybe take him down together. Upon the two reaching the goal area, a glitch occurs where Five can't score with his ball, so Miko lets him use hers. However, the glitch appears in real life, in front of a large audience, and Glitch Tech's protocol is to destroy the glitch and reset the memories of everyone who'd seen it. In doing so, everyone but Mitch forgets how he lost the tournament. Well, almost everyone, as Miko has some strange immunity to Hinobi's mind wipe technology. She tracks down Five and explains that he was at the tournament and even won, with the two going together to find Mitch after Five is convinced of the truth. During their confrontation of the sore loser, the glitch escapes, and Mitch goes after it, locking Five and Miko up in his van so they can't go telling people what really happened. That sounds worse than it is. The two gear up with some equipment they find in his van, breaking out and chasing the glitch themselves, which has both turned into a giant kitty and eaten Mitch. The duo take down the kitty and save him, thus being hired as real glitch techs themselves by the end of the episode. After they're hired into Hinobi, we're introduced to the other employees, who usually act as the supporting characters in most episodes. Of course, the glitch techs need a boss. Phil takes up this role, and while he's apathetic most of the time, he's primarily concerned with the safety of his employees, if not a little the overall image they convey of his leadership. Phil is assisted by the HQ's artificial intelligence Bit, who does most of the heavy lifting in training the glitch techs, giving them advice, and assigning them targeted glitches. Besides Mitch, there's a few other employees. Zara, Hanish, Nix, and Bergie, who all both put up with Mitch's egotistical behavior and consider him to be out of line. Despite all of them working together, the techs are all ranked individually, save for Five and Miko, who opted to be treated as a team. Not a whole lot of the show is dedicated to deepening the world's lore, which I blame on development issues that I'll talk about later. The first season consists of your typical per-episode romps with a few moments and storylines explaining things like Five's family background, Miko's childhood, and how Mitch claimed his popularity. By the second season, which was always just meant to be the second half of season 1, we see more world building concerning Hinobi, and more questions regarding both its practices and its employees. Again, if you're not comfortable with having more of the show spoiled for you, I'll leave a timestamp that you can skip to avoid it. In the episode Find the Glitch, the main glitch techs do a training exercise in which they're locked in a room, each given a card that says they're a glitch or not, with the goal being to find out who's really the glitch. So at first you're kinda like, oh, of course, the Among Us episode is just silly filler. Wrong! As the game progresses, Miko tries to weed out the glitch by showing them funny videos. Hanish is the only one who doesn't laugh, causing everyone to vote him out, a decision that turns out to be correct. You go, Hanish, none of that was funny. However, even with the glitch being found, and the game being over, the room stays closed, with the players devolving into thinking one of them is genuinely a glitch. The same one that, earlier in the episode, caused HQ to go under maintenance. Bit helps them examine recordings of all of their actions as glitch techs, causing them all to argue and accuse each other of being the glitch. Miko tries to get the exercise back into being just good fun. Mitch then directs the suspicion on her, citing the facts that she can't be mind-wiped and has heightened video game skills as proof of her being inhuman and therefore the glitch. Everyone votes for her, except Five, who explains that, glitch or not, she's their friend, which should matter most of all. The game is cut short before the vote can be cast, and it's figured out that the glitch was caused by Phil's virtual pet Kodama, and has been captured. Bergie asks if it's really possible that one of them is actually a glitch, to which it is stated that anything is possible. Surprisingly, this is the first episode to question why Miko is such a strange case. The episode, The Real Glitch Text, isn't one I'll spend too much time on, but does have some important points I'll briefly mention. Mitch gets a nice redesign in this episode, following a couple episodes where he starts to learn he's valued more by the other techs than he thought. This physical change comes in tandem with a development in his story arc, where he becomes more of a team player and a bit more friendly with Five and Miko. The other notable development in this episode is that we find out that every town has their own team of glitch techs, which there can be a bit of rivalry between. The particular dispute in this episode is really caused by a years-long disagreement between Phil and the other team's boss, which also confirms that, in some kind of roundabout way, each town's Hinobi team is intertwined on some level, probably by higher-ups, which we know nothing about. Mitch finally gets his own episode later on, titled I'm Mitch Williams. The episode basically opens with Mitch wanting to take on a particularly glitchy hotspot, to which he is told no. He directly asks Phil if he can take the job, stating that the occupants of the house in question deserve at least some consideration against being permanently banned from Hinobi's tech for modding and hacking or whatever it was that they were doing, I don't know. Phil lets him go, telling him he should debug the house. Again, no idea what this means in universe, probably something along the lines of making it so no more glitches can occur there. Noticing Mitch's particular interest in the job, Five and Miko follow him, curious as to why. They find out that the house is home to 3 members of the Furious 4, a notorious group of gamers. I hate using the word gamer. I hate this show. Mitch has been using his status as a glitch tech to repair or replace the 3 members' equipment when they inevitably break it. As expected, a glitch manifests, and Mitch, now joined by Five and Miko, has to get it under control. It's during this scuffle that Five and Miko find out that this is Mitch's house, and that he's the 4th missing member of the Furious 4, the rest of which are his siblings. His job as a glitch tech caused a little divide between him and his family, leading to him exiting the Furious 4 completely, but still wanting to protect them. The episode ends with things being resolved, and with Mitch having a closer relationship with Five and Miko. The final episode of Season 2, Bit Prime, is an episode about Bit, where Five and Miko set out to help fix him after he begins to lag, with Phil threatening to basically just replace him. They find that Bit's memory is too full, having that he runs the HQ entirely on his own, on top of storing important data. Upon trying to clean his memory up, they find a big, fat, space-devouring file titled Kupai Kaken, like the dessert version of a turducken. Should I do a Kupai cake and baking video in the future? The duo accidentally activates the file, sending Bit into a destructive assault mode, hunting down the ingredients for the dessert. Trying to stop him only makes things worse, causing him to evolve into his bigger, more dangerous Bit Prime form. Five and Miko follow Bit to Phil's heavily surveillanced house, where he uses the ingredients to access a hidden lab and a second file. Phil, prompted by security drones going off at his house, shows up, helps Five and Miko stop and clean up Bit, and then sends them home. He takes the opportunity to look at the file Bit has unlocked, viewing what ends up being a video of his younger self, letting his future self know that corporate Hinobi wiped his memory, noting that he's held onto the data he was able to recover from Hinobi in case things, quote, get glitchy. How does a show with such cringe dated lingo in it get so serious so quickly? How are you gonna introduce an evil corporate plot in the last episode we're likely to ever see? As of January of 2023, there has been no confirmation nor denial that there'll be a 3rd season. Those last 10 ordered episodes are written and storyboarded, but we don't know if or when work will be finished or started or whatever on them. This video is partially my effort to make a case for this show. The diversity is great, with the 2 main characters being Mexican and Korean respectively. Mitch being black, holding the spot for the 3rd antagonist turned deuteragonist main character of the show, even with supporting characters having quite a bit of diversity, with Zara actually being the first Nickelodeon character to be confirmed as Arab. The writing itself does what I think Fanboy and Chum Chum should have done. It takes fun characters and a fun world, and is able to breathe some seriousness into it while maintaining a bubbly air about it. Other than that, the music, composed by Brad Breek, once again, really brings the show to life. It's awesome. Production of glitch techs has admittedly seen a lot of trouble, but I think if we can generate enough interest in it, we'll eventually get answers, if not a 3rd season. In the meantime, we can do what you probably clicked on this video to do. Ponder what could have been. Like a lot of shows, and commonly with kids shows, Glitch Techs has a lost pilot. In June of 2020, the showrunners for Glitch Techs, Eric Robles, Dan Milano, and Ian Graham, hosted a livestream where they discussed the production of the show, down to the writing, storyboarding, and animating that had to be done. There's a highlight video that I can link if you're interested in learning more about that. At some point during the livestream, they showed 58 seconds worth of material created for the pilot, including a storyboard animatic with temporary test audio where Five's voice actor hadn't yet been cast. Other than that, the most obvious differences included the characters being drawn slightly differently, with Miko having messier looking hair and Five having different facial proportions. They also showed a finalized version of this storyboard in an animation done by a different company than the actual show. This finalized animation sports a different show logo, uses CGI effects more prominently, and has the characters move in a different fluidity than what we see in the show. Supposedly, this pilot is said to have been 11 minutes long, following a much different plot than what we got in the finalized pilot. Based on the dialogue alone, it seems like 5 is both already a glitch tech in the first episode, and has a snarkier attitude than his more laid-back, compassionate, and clumsy final version. I have studied this clip on a microscopic level. I don't know if this can be confirmed in any way, but I think 5 and Mitch were at one point the same character. Well, I mean, he was also the finalized Mitch, as Mitch existed even in concept art for the show. I don't want to talk about concept art glitch techs. I just think that Beta 5 split into 2 at some point, giving his big shot personality to Mitch. Of course I could be wrong. I would assume this pilot would come in tandem with a second 11-minute story to fit the TV standard 22 minutes, as this was finished before it was given to Netflix. Somewhere along the line, the relationship with the original animation studio deteriorated and was terminated. It's not clear who has the ownership of this pilot. I'm pretty sure it's the showrunners since they showed part of it on stream. I don't know if the pilot will ever get released, but my guess is that it definitely won't happen while the show is in limbo. I could talk about the unproduced episodes, as a good handful have been somewhat detailed, but I'll hold my breath for now until we get a final answer on those. Again, I implore you, if you have Netflix, please watch this show. It might not fix whatever problems that are keeping it from being continued, but enough support and attention might prompt the creators to, at the very least, throw us a bone. For now, all we can do is wait, wondering,
who knows what really happens when a video game starts to glitch?
Hello, thank you for watching the video. I just want to say that glitch text is one of those things that, I didn't really watch the show as much as I was just in the room while it was on, but I ended up really liking it. If I talk about shows on here, it's usually stuff that I've already seen or have, experienced. There's a lot of shows that I've just learned about from reading stuff online. Hopefully somebody can relate to me on that point. But yeah, I do really love glitch text. It's very good. Like I said, it does everything that Fanboy and Chum Chum could have done. Fanboy and Chum Chum is fun on its own, but that's pretty much all it has to it. I do like that this got into some lore. But the sad part is that it got into the lore right before it went into limbo. I don't know what's gonna happen. Nobody knows what's gonna happen. It's probably gonna end on a cliffhanger like the original Teen Titans show did. But yes, I do hope you enjoyed the video. I really did enjoy talking about this. I love it when I get to talk about things that I'm interested in, or have a heavy interest in. I'm trying to think about doing a Q&A video for hitting 1,000, so I'll probably make a post about that where you can put questions in. I'll probably have people ask multiple questions so I can make the video a little longer, but yeah, just keep an eye out for that. But anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.